Once again, we are all welcome to this amazing gathering. I am Lukman Kazim, and I'll be your pilot for this evening and for the other evenings that we're going to be having together. So I will just try and go through a couple of things that we need to know before we start the class proper. So, like we all know, this is Fitway Academy, I would say, and this is data analysis class. So our goal is very straightforward and direct in this class. We just want to educate ourselves on how to become a data analyst. And in the process, we're going to be learning how to use data analytics tools and to actually like work as a data analyst. So in the process, we will be doing a couple of things just to equip ourselves and get ourselves prepared. We're going to be having assignments. The assignments would probably be in two formats, which might actually be in form of research or practicals. So that is that. Once again, you are all welcome to our data analysis class, which is organized by Fitway. So by now, I think we should all be following Fitway on LinkedIn, on Instagram. I think you need to do that, and probably in case you've not done that, you can actually do that after the class. I'll be sharing my screen in no time now. This is just going to give us like a brief like overview of what we are going to be doing in the class in a couple of let's say 2 months, 8 weeks that we have. First and foremost, I would just say we need a lot of dedication as a participant of this class. I will need to give our best to get the best from this class. So, and that involves punctuality, like coming to the class as early as possible and listening to the recordings like over and over again. So, I'm moving to the roadmap of what we are going to be learning in the class. So, data analysis is the course, but there's a roadmap that we're going to be following in order to look at the class. First and foremost, I'll just talk briefly about what data analysis like entails and what we are trying to achieve with this class. So, as the name implies, we have analysis data. So, data is something that we are all familiar with, and most especially as Nigerians, like at this point in time where MTN, all the network providers are doing this and that. I think data is in our face more than ever before. But the data that we're talking about here is not the data that we use on our phone. So it's not the MTN data that we've been complaining about. So in this case, we are talking about figures. We are talking about real data here. So that is not the case in this case. And the scope of what we're trying to do with data analysis is to make sense of data, like analyze data, like work on data, to help individuals, companies, like make informed decisions. So before now, I believe when we're all like in elementary school, primary school, there was a time they were saying data in computer studies, they would say data is a raw fact, data is a raw fact, data is a raw fact every now and then. So I would say we can still like go with that. Data is a raw fact. Data is something that has not yet undergone like processing. It is still very plain. But in order to make decisions with data, we need to perform some operations. We need to work on our data, do some basic operations on it, and at the end of the day, come up with something tangible, which is a report that would help organizations, individuals make informed decisions. And like what we've been saying before now, a couple of us, we have prior experience. Some of us, we are just trying to like learn data analysis to better ourselves in our organizations and also like to help us like on the long run. So at the end of the day, data analysis or data is in every sector, like every sector generates data. Somebody was saying at some point that, okay, in his organization, like they generate a lot of data about energy or something. And at the end of the day, the data are just there. They can't actually like make decisions because okay, they can't really like do one or two things like which is processing and a couple of things just to, like at the end of the day like make sense of the data. So that is what data analysis is all about. So in the process of making sense of the data, we're going to be looking at certain processes. The roadmap now. So how do we want to go about data analysis? So I would say that for data analysis, there is the overall process or step that we're going to follow. So, and once we are familiar, we are very sure that we understand the steps that we're going to follow. The next thing for us to now do is to learn the tools that will help us like follow the due steps that are involved as far as the data analysis is concerned. So first and foremost, the first thing that we're going to be doing in the first week, that is today and tomorrow, is to get ourselves familiar with the data analysis process. Under that, we're going to be looking at the steps that are involved as far as the data analysis is concerned. So after we are done with that, the next thing for us now to do is to learn the tools of data analysis. So in this class, we are going to be sticking with Microsoft Excel, SQL, and Power BI. So there is Python, which I put into bracket optional. So that one is after you are done with the first three and you are very sure of your words because your expertise in them, then you can decide that, oh, I want to take it a little bit further. Then you can learn Python like as an additional tool. The tools that we need, what are the tools that we'll be needing for this class? First and foremost, we need Microsoft Excel. We need to, if you have Office installed on your system, is very good. We will need that. And also we need to install SQL and the SQL Server Management Studio. We need Power BI, Microsoft Power BI. So those are the tools that we need as far as the class is concerned. So you don't have to worry yourself about, oh, how do I install it? How do I do this? We're going to get there together and we're going to look at, once we get to a step, we'll install the necessary tools that will move forward from there. Aside from understanding data analysis, there are some skills that we're going to be learning like alongside the class. So one of it is report writing. So at the end of the day, you learn how to write reports based on the data that you've analyzed. You will learn how to conduct research. What are the things that you need to do as a data analyst if you want to like conduct a research, or there is someone that you want to work with? How do you like help them to structure like the necessary questions that they need to ask as far as the collection of data is concerned? The next thing that we're going to be looking at is presentation. We're going to present, and based on what we've done, we need to make presentation on it. Then overall, we're going to be understanding how to tell story with data also. Then analytical thinking. So there are some resources that would help us in the class. So I have gathered a couple of resources which I'll be sharing in the class also, so that we can also get access. So the thing is, I know that a lot of us, we are actually like very busy. We have stuff that we're doing on the side. I might not really like get to open this book, but for the benefits of understanding this course very well, I think we should try and look at the materials. You don't have to read everything, just read what you are learning part time. Read materials just to like add to the knowledge that you are gaining in the class. So then the goal of this class is to be able to build a data analytics portfolio together. Then the skills, you would master Power BI, Excel, and SQL at the end of the class. Then you'll be able to add the data analysis to your resume. And if possible, you write a couple of reports that you can publish. So that is that about what the class is going to entail. So going back to the first outline is a data analysis process. So I would be sharing my PowerPoint slide now. So like I said, this first class is going to be based on data analysis process and Microsoft Excel. So we have a data analysis. So data analysis, we've been hearing data analysis. What does data analysis like entails? So that's what we're going to be learning today. So we need to get ourselves familiar with data analysis. Then tomorrow we'll go proper into the tools. So the overview, we're going to be learning the scope of data analysis process today. So I'm just going to engage ourselves and understand what data analysis is all about. So I said data analysis is the process of gathering, cleaning, processing, and transforming raw data in order to uncover the hidden patterns, trends, and insights in the data. So what am I trying to say with this? It is the fact that from what we said already, data is a raw fact. It does not carry any meaning. It is just there. We cannot make decisions based on what we have. So it is just like we have the ingredients. We want to cook jollof rice. We have all the ingredients. We have the oil. We have everything. We have rice. But we cannot call it jollof rice yet until when we've been able to wash the rice, put it on fire, do this, do that. That is when we say, okay, we have jollof rice. So data is like the ingredients, like all the ingredients that we have together. We've gathered all the ingredients. We've collected all the ingredients that we need to cook jollof rice. So for us to now move forward to cook our jollof rice, we need to do proper and thorough cleaning. Let's say we need to wash our rice, we need to blend our pepper, we need to do this, we need to do that. So that's the next thing. So the first step in data analysis is gathering of data. So gathering of data involves collecting data. So it could be that as a data analyst, you can collect data yourself. So there are different methods of collecting data. You can use survey to collect data, and there are times that you have data that are ready, like the data is there for you. You just need to collect the data from someone, then move on with the next step. So we have gathering or collection of data as the first step. Then after we are done with that, the next thing for us to now do is to clean the data. Just like we want to prepare jollof rice, the next thing for us to do is, I need to wash my rice, I need to blend my pepper. You need to be sure that, okay, everything that you need as far as preparation of the jollof rice is concerned, everything is on the table. You've cleaned everything that needs to be cleaned. So that is that. Then after we're done with cleaning, then the next thing for us to now do is process our data. And processing involves changing the state of our data from one form to another. So in the case of jollof rice that we're cooking, we need to now know that, the raw rice that I have, I need to put it on fire. I need to change the form from just raw rice to cooked rice. I need to blend the pepper that I have blended. I need to put it on fire. I need to do this and that. So that is processing. Then we now need to transform the data, the raw data. So we can now transform it from ordinary rice to jollof rice. So from there, one thing that we can get after the transformation of our data from raw data to processed data now is that we'll be able to see patterns, we'll be able to see trends, we'll be able to see insights. So as far as data analysis is concerned, one thing that I think I usually use whenever I'm opportune to take people is, there's a particular example of sport betting that a lot of people are into. So the way sport betting works, for example, is that people that are into real sport betting, they need to collect data for a couple of periods. So you want to predict a result of a football match. You want to be able to say, okay, this team is probably going to win. So you need to have data that you can work on. Okay, you have historical data that, okay, based on past experience, past matches that has happened between two clubs, you've collected the data. Then after collecting the data, you can now look at the results. Okay, there's a particular trend. If you look at it, this period, whenever this team is at home, they have the upper hand, they would beat this or that thing. Whenever this team is playing away from home, they have the opportunity to do this and that. So we have our data that we've collected, that we've transformed to our process data. We can now see patterns, different patterns, occurring patterns and trends. So that would now help us to make informed decisions as a data analyst. So our goal as a data analyst now is to be able to collect raw data that is yet to undergo processing, and perform cleaning, processing, and transformation on the data. And at the end of the day, note out the patterns and trends in the process data, which can now help decision makers to make informed decisions on it. So, like I said, the speed of data analysis is centered around working with data. We need to work with data. And when we are talking about data, data can be in different forms and volume. The next thing that I want to look at is data analysis process. So what are the processes that are involved as far as the data analysis is concerned? Oh, I have said it already that we want to gather data, want to process data, want to transform data. But if we are to look at data analysis process, okay, if you want to carry out a data analysis task, what are the things that are going to do? What are the steps that are going to follow? That is what we mean by data analysis process. So first and foremost, just like we all know, if you are a bricklayer, for example, you want to build a house, you don't just jump from somebody say, okay, they want to build this particular house, you just jump and you just like start digging ground. No, you need to ask questions. You need to be sure that, okay, we're on the same page and you understand what the person wants to do. So the first step of data analysis is to ask questions. So asking question involves, somebody wants you, okay, so you've been learning data analysis. That is very good. I have this data and I want you to work on it for me as a data analyst. So if you are to do it, the data analysis task now, what are you going to look at? The first thing that you need to do as a data analyst is to ask questions. Ask question in the sense that, this data that I'm having, what does this particular one indicate? What does this indicate? What does this indicate? Or what are you trying to do at the end of the day? Because if you have data, you can do as many things with the data that you have. So if you ask the right question, that will lead you on how to go about the other steps. So that would lead you on how to go about, okay, there are some data that you might not be needing, like as far as this task is concerned. You can make do with those data. So that is what the first step is talking about. So the first thing is ask effective questions. And at the end of the day, from the asking question stage, you need to now define the overall aim or goal of your data analysis task. Okay, this is what I want to be able to achieve at the end of the day. So, and in this case, there are some things that we need to understand. So we can ask questions in the sense that you need to ask question using the three W's. What are the things that I want to achieve with this data? Who are the people that I want to present my results to at the end of the day? Then the third one is H, actually. How do I go about this data analysis process in such a way that I would prepare and present the right information to the necessary people? So that is what the first step is talking about. Then once we are done with that, the next step now is to prepare our data. So now you know where you are going. You are not going without a plan or a direction. You have a plan, you have a direction. So that will now lead us to the next step, which is preparing. So in this place, this is now talking about understanding how our data is generated and collected. So this data that you are working with, how was the data generated or collected? So you need to understand that. Then you need to know the different types of data that you have, the different forms. So you need to get an overview of your data. Okay, you have how many rows, you have how many columns, you have this, you have that. So you need to know all these. Once we are done with that, you are very sure that, okay, you've checked the data, you can be rest assured that this data can answer the questions that you've highlighted at the beginning. Then you can now move forward to the next step, which is to process the data. So processing the data now means now you want to now work on the data. So that is where your major work as a data analyst starts from. So in this place, you want to now begin to look at some things. So as far as data is concerned, because we said data is a raw fact, so that means there are some things in our data that we need to take away. So as far as processing is concerned, we need to now, the major step here is now to clean our data. So most times, data is always dirty. And data is dirty in the sense that there are some unnecessary informations or data that we've added probably in the course of collecting our data or gathering our data. So there are some things that will not allow us to make sense of our data. And one of it is we have bias. So for example, now if there is bias, there is outliers in our data, you need to make sure that you take away that. So bias in the sense that the person that is collecting the data or that collected the data, if there's a certain bias, as a data analyst, you need to take away those bias because you want to make informed decisions from the data. And if you don't take away the bias, you won't be able to make informed decisions. So I said something about bias, and the other one I said is outlier. Sometimes you can be working with the data and you see that there are certain informations or values that are extremely like on the other side from the other values that you have. So for example, now you are collecting information about people and there's a age column. You have age of people, you have one, you have let's say 18, 19, and so on and so forth. Then you now see minus 20, which is not supposed to be. Or let's say you have 1,000 and something. So in that case, we can consider the negative value or the extreme value as an outlier that we need to like take away in order to process our data effectively. So that is what data processing is all about. So we're going to clean our data, clean it. So in this case, there are some things that we're going to be looking at. We're going to get ourselves like familiar with it as we progress. So we need to take away duplicate values. There are times that you tell people that, oh, help me fill this form, and they will go ahead and fill it like, instead of one time, they'll fill it like 7 times. So you need to take away duplicates. You need to take away empty values. Some people, you will tell them that, oh, this place, put in your phone number. They will go ahead and put their surname or their name or anything. So in that case, as a data analyst, you need to ensure that all these values, they are taken care of. You need to clean them and ensure that at the end of the day, your data is clean. So that is what data processing is all about. So once we are done with that, the next thing for us to now do is to now analyze. So we have data processing, we have data preparation. Now is to now analyze the data that we have. And in this case, to analyze, you come up with different things. You need to come up with calculations. You need to create, let's say, additional columns. You need to create additional information just to make sure that what you are doing is right. So in this case, we might be doing a little bit of not mathematics per se, but a little bit of calculations here and there. So in this case, we use tools to format and transform our data. We sort and filter our data. Then we make predictions and all of that from this analysis stage. Then after that, the next thing for us now to do is, after we've analyzed, we've created additional information that we might need. The next thing for us to now do is we now need to create reports. We need to create reports and visualization, reports, visualization, and dashboard. So in this place, if you are to share what we've been able to see from our analysis, we now need to put it in form of a report. So a lot of us who might have actually like seen a couple of it. Let's say during election period now, when different electoral processes like was happening, there was a time that we're seeing results of elections and how a party is leading at this point in time. So there is a form of data collection and analysis that happened during the last election. So we can see it, and even you as an individual that is probably into data analysis or not really into data analysis, you would agree with me that to a large extent, you also like see these reports. You can see reports like, let's say from your end, if you use iPhone, for example, there's a report of the number of steps that you take in a day, or the number of this, the number of that. Like you can see, last year, you use your phone for so amount of period. This week, you use it for this. So there are reports showing you progress, showing you patterns that you can easily like use to make informed decisions. So then lastly is to now act. So the essence of having reports and visualizations like is to act where there is need for you to act. Let's say, for example, now you've been using data for, let's say, the first quarter of the year. You've been seeing that, Instagram has been using more like data than other apps. Oh, in order to ensure that you are not spending too much on data, so you now need to limit your usage of Instagram. So that is now how to act. So the acting part most times is not your work to do as a data analyst. So you are just like helping people to like make sense of data. So it is now left alone to them to now act on what you've been able to like bring to life to them. So they can now like apply your insight to solve problems, to make decisions, and so on and so forth. The data analysis process now. So I've said those things. So majorly now, if you're now talking about data analysis process proper, so the first one that I said is just like major theories. So now the major step we're going to be like involving ourselves with as we progress, like I highlighted it into 5 major steps. So the first one is problem definition. So if you see data as a data analyst, me I used to tell people that if you get data, the first thing that you do as a data analyst is not to take your data and take it to Excel or take your data and take it to Power BI. No, the first thing that you need to do is to define your problem. What is the problem? Because at the end of the day, you are trying to solve a problem. So what is the problem that you are trying to solve? You need to define it first. Let it be clear. This is the problem that I'm trying to solve. So after we are done with that, you are sure that, oh, you've defined the problem, because that will lead you on the the cleaning and the processing. So that would like lead us on how to like do away with things that we might not like necessarily need or that are not really important. So the first one is problem definition. Once we've defined our problem, so most times you might not have data for the problem that you want to solve. So it is now left alone to you as a data analyst to now like collect and gather the necessary data. So in case you've defined the problem, you don't have data, you can now go ahead and collect data. And collection of data could be in different forms. So there are times that you can collect data yourself, like it is. So because data to be in form of to be in different forms, we have primary and secondary data. Primary data is the one that you yourself as a data analyst, you were involved like in the course of collecting the data. It is a first-hand data. Then there's another one that we call secondary data. So most times we use the secondary data. So secondary data in this sense is talking about historical data. So this one, it is available for you. You can usually like probably go ahead, collect it from somewhere. So for example, there are different places that you can always like get to collect data from. Let's say, for example, if you are learning, there's a place called Kaggle. You can get data from Kaggle, you can get data from data.world, and so on and so forth. And let me now come down to our nation, Nigeria, for example. Let's say you've been thinking about a problem, you want to solve a problem, and you feel like you need data. So if you go to the website of National Bureau of Statistics, so there are data there already that you can now like analyze and clean and build report on. So that is the next step, which is data collection and data gathering. So like I said the other time, we need to clean our data. If you've collected data, most times there are loopholes, there are duplicate entries. So you need to now clean the data to your own taste. And in order to clean data, there are some steps that we're also going to be looking at. There are standard steps that you look at if you are to clean a data. So we'll look at that too. Then we have data analysis. We already said it that after we've cleaned the data, we now need to come up with a couple of, let's say, new calculations to make sense of what we want to do. So most times, data analysis now is linked to the definition of our problem. So if, for example, I want to collect data, I want to know how people are using a particular network in my area, for example, that is what I want to know. So after I have collected the data that I need, like with all the necessary information that will be helpful, once I get to the data analysis part, it is now left alone for me to now like, okay, count the total number of people that participated in the survey. Then from there, I can now go ahead and say, okay, for this particular network, how many people are using this network? Or how many people are using this? Then I can begin to like come up with little calculations to back whatever problem I want to solve. So once I'm done with that, the next thing for us to do is to now like visualize or build reports. So in this case, why are we like sticking with this part? It is because most times as a data analyst, your work is not limited to cleaning and analyzing data alone. You need to now present it for people to see. And the reason why charts and reports are used is because people get to relate with data easily if it is in form of charts. So it is very easy for you to look at the bar charts and say, oh, there's a trend. Unlike looking at a table with just figures, 1, 0, A, B, C, and all of that. So it is very difficult for you tracing patterns with tables. But with reports, with charts, you can easily trace pattern and see yourself. So you don't even have to be a data analyst for you to read and identify patterns with data report and data visualization. That is the last step, and it is about sharing our findings with our audience. So that is that. So I believe we've been able to learn one or two things at the end of this class.